this. If you're interested in blockchain and you want to make money.
Tom, if I may, I think you're demonstrating that we don't have a global consensus about crypto.
Hey there, future millionaires. Welcome back to the channel. It's so good to see you again. I really hope you're crushing it today, no matter where you're tuning in from around the world. So let's dive right into what's happening with XRP because things are getting seriously exciting. Remember that video I dropped yesterday about Uphold and their yield program? Well, guess what? It's creating this massive ripple effect. Pun totally intended. Everyone's jumping on board trying to get a piece of this action. And speaking of action, I just came across something pretty cool from Bitrue that I had to share with you. They're basically calling out to all XRP holders saying, hey, it's time to level up your game. Here's what they're offering. You can start earning and actually multiply your XRP holdings right now. They've got access to over 80 XRP trading pairs, which means way better liquidity for you. Plus, they're offering staking, something called Power Piggy, which sounds kind of fun, right? And they're even listing tokens from the XRP Ledger ecosystem through their launch pool. Pretty wild stuff happening in the XRP space right now, and this is just the beginning. But hold up, we're just getting started here. So get this, Doppler Finance just teamed up with BitGet, and we're talking about the world's largest universal exchange. This partnership is huge because they're working together to create these secure, transparent, and totally verifiable XRP yield opportunities for millions of people around the globe. And honestly, this is just scratching the surface. Just imagine what's going to happen when the big institutions finally jump in. I'm talking about the major players. When they enter this space, they're going to blow the doors wide open with earning opportunities for us. And here's the kicker. A lot of these are going to be virtually risk-free. Now, let's be real for a second. Right now, when you're earning yield or staking your crypto, there's always some level of risk involved. That's just the nature of the game. But in the future, we're looking at options that are going to be so much safer. But here's what I absolutely love about this whole setup. You never have to sell a single coin. Think about it. You could be getting monthly income flowing in from your crypto while you just sit back and watch the price of what you're holding climb higher and higher over time. It's like having your cake and eating it too. And right now, everyone's racing to get their piece of that XRP yield pie while the getting's good. You know what's really interesting? I just noticed something that's pretty telling about XRP's position in the market. Have you ever seen Ripple come out and say something like, hey, we're better than this coin or that coin, when they announce a new partnership or acquisition? Nope, never. They just focus on their own thing. But flip the script and look at literally every other crypto project out there. The moment they land any kind of partnership deal, what's the first thing they do? They immediately start name-dropping XRP for comparison. It's like they can't help themselves. We're faster than XRP. We're cheaper than XRP. We're going to replace XRP. That right there tells you everything you need to know. XRP has become the benchmark that everyone else measures themselves against. It's like being the top dog that everyone's trying to knock off the throne. And speaking of trying to knock XRP off its throne, just look at what's happening with Solana right now. It feels like every few months there's always some new token popping up. And what do they all claim? We're the XRP killer. It's almost become a pattern at this point. New project launches, gets some hype, and immediately positions itself as the thing that's going to take down XRP. Pretty wild when you think about it. And you know why this keeps happening? It's because deep down, XRP is the one cryptocurrency that absolutely terrifies the competition. Think about it. If XRP wasn't a real threat, why would everyone be so obsessed with comparing themselves to it? They all know what XRP is truly capable of, and that scares them. It's like when you're in school and there's that one student everyone's trying to beat. You don't waste time comparing yourself to the average kids. You compare yourself to the top performer because that's who you're really worried about. And it's not just me saying this. Market analysts are actually calling this out now. They're pointing to this clear trend where all these top crypto projects keep directly benchmarking their payment capabilities specifically against XRP. Not Bitcoin, not Ethereum, XRP. It's like XRP has become the gold standard for payments in crypto, and everyone else is desperately trying to prove they can do it better. But here's the thing. If you have to constantly tell people you're better than XRP, maybe you're not actually better than XRP. You know what I mean? Top. And here's where it gets really exciting. When we're talking about payments, Ripple has hands down created the best alternative to SWIFT that we've ever seen. And once XRP starts flowing through all those Ripple networks around the globe, and I mean really flowing at scale, I'm telling you right now, all those people who are ignoring XRP or actively fighting against it, they're going to disappear into thin air. These are the same folks who are going to be kicking themselves so hard for not buying XRP when they had every opportunity to get in. The regret is going to be absolutely crushing for them. And look, this isn't just me talking here. When you see organizations like the IMF and the BIS, these massive financial institutions discussing XRP, they've been dropping hints for years that XRP represents the future of payments. Same thing goes for XLM, by the way. Stellar is positioned to move incredible amounts of money in the very near future. Here's what I really think is going to happen. When this new financial system finally launches and goes fully live, we're going to see a massive shift. All that noise about Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, it's going to fade into the background. The spotlight is going to be completely focused on utility from that point forward. It's not going to be about hype or speculation anymore. It'll be all about what these cryptocurrencies can actually do in the real world. If you truly want to make real money in blockchain, start looking at derivatives. Take a listen to this.
If you're interested in blockchain and you want to make money, forget about sending money back to your uncle in France. This is where you should be thinking. This is the size of the entire economy of the world right here, GDP. This is the notional principle of all derivatives, okay? These are all forwards, futures, and options, and these are all derivatives except interest rate swaps. This right here, interest rate swaps. Biggest universe that most of you have never heard of. Millions of lawyers, millions of traders, millions of accounts, all that can be put on the blockchain, okay? And all this clearing system and settlement system, which we took, Dodd-Frank is like this thick, this much of it has to do with clearing and settling of swaps. Okay, it's a nightmare, it's a mess, and we can take this whole system and simplify it with distributed ledgers. Okay, I want to talk.
And that is what Ripple was targeting from day one. Smoke goes on to say this. Okay, this is where things get absolutely mind-blowing. So there are 100 quadrillion drops of XRP. That's not a random number, by the way. Ripple specifically designed it this way because they were targeting the quadrillion-dollar derivatives market from day one. And here's what most people completely miss. Everyone thinks Ripple was just going after banks and cross-border payments, right? Wrong. That was never their main target. They were playing a much bigger game. They wanted to capture the derivatives market, which is absolutely massive. Now get this. They only need to grab a tiny fraction of that derivatives market and boom, we're suddenly looking at 1,000 XRP. I know that sounds crazy, but when you understand the scale we're talking about here, it actually makes perfect sense. And this isn't some new strategy they just came up with. This has been in the works for years. I mean, even back in 2023, Ripple joined ISDA to claim their share of that $1.2 quadrillion derivatives market. Yeah, you heard that right. Quadrillion with a Q. Everything we're seeing now was put into motion a long time ago. Ripple has been playing chess while everyone else was playing checkers, and now all the pieces are finally coming together. But here's what cracks me up. People are sitting around worrying about Western Union and Solana when there's so much bigger stuff happening. And you know what? Brad Garlinghouse actually nailed it perfectly when he said something that really stuck with me. He pointed out that we still don't have any kind of global consensus on crypto yet. We're literally still in the early days of all this. But here's the exciting part. He believes the next 16 years are going to be absolutely incredible compared to what we've seen in the last 16 years. And why? Because we're finally moving beyond all the speculation and hype, and we're about to see real, actual applications emerge. Think about it. We've spent over a decade talking about what crypto could do, but now we're actually starting to see it happen in the real world. The speculation phase is ending, and the utility phase is just beginning. So while everyone's getting caught up in the day-to-day noise and worrying about the competition, the smart money is focusing on the long-term picture. Let me play this clip for you so you can hear it straight from Brad himself.
And Tom, if I may, I think you're demonstrating that we don't have a global consensus about crypto. Even in this conversation, and I agree that it still is early, partly because there is not a global consensus about some of these things. I agree. And I think some of the use cases, we're still extremely early in terms of scaled use cases. Circle is certainly one example that has started to have a scaled use case around a stablecoin. But I think the crypto industry, I agree, the next 16 years, I think will be better than the last 16 years because you'll finally see applications emerging that up until now have just been the store of value story or speculation.
So what Brad's really getting at here is huge. We're witnessing this massive shift happening right before our eyes. We're moving away from all that store of value talk, and we're definitely moving away from pure speculation. This is the turning point, folks. Everything from here on out is going to be about real utility, actual, tangible use cases that solve real-world problems. We're literally watching the world transition from these old, clunky, traditional financial systems into this sleek, digital future. But here's the thing, and this is super important. For all of this incredible transformation to actually happen, there's one crucial piece that has to fall into place first. And that's regulations. Think about it like building a house. You can have the most amazing blueprints and the best materials in the world, but you can't start construction until you get those permits approved. Regulations are basically the permits for the crypto revolution. Once we get that regulatory clarity locked down, everything else can finally start moving at lightning speed. That's when we'll see all these amazing use cases we've been talking about for years actually come to life. Okay, here's something that's been blowing my mind lately. Digital Asset Investor brought up this crazy question. What if Amazon actually has some kind of rights to the XRP escrow? Just think about that for a second. Because here's the thing. When that Amazon partnership finally gets announced, and we all know it's probably coming, the entire world is going to go absolutely nuts talking about XRP. I'm talking about millions of people rushing to buy XRP on that exact day. That's probably why they're saving this partnership announcement for just the right moment. Now, David Schwartz dropped some really interesting intel about how this escrow system actually works. He said Ripple could potentially sell the rights to receive those tokens when they're released from escrow, or even sell the actual accounts that the escrow gets completed into. But here's the catch. That XRP still can't move around freely until those official release dates hit. So basically, companies could buy that escrow ahead of time and receive it early, but it's locked up tight until the first of every month when it officially releases. Pretty clever system, right? This gets me wondering though, how much of that escrow is already promised to central banks? How much might Amazon get? What about other major companies? We honestly have no idea. I keep seeing people throw around that the IMF is going to snag the biggest chunk, maybe 10 billion XRP, but that's pure speculation at this point. And don't even get me started on all those NDAs. Everyone keeps saying they're all going to be announced at once by the end of this year, but nobody actually knows when those expire. My guess? We're going to get announcements trickling out over time as each NDA naturally expires. Don't hold your breath for some massive flood of news all at once. I mean, when you really think about it, that wouldn't even make logical sense for all those announcements to drop at the same time, right? But here's what's really interesting. And this comes from a journalist who's been digging deep into all of this. All the evidence we're seeing right now is pointing to XRP and the XRP ledger being put into serious action once these new laws actually go into effect. That's the key piece everyone should be paying attention to. It's not about what's happening right now. It's about what's going to happen once we get that regulatory framework locked and loaded. That's when XRP is really going to shine. And this is exactly what I've been telling you guys this whole time. Nothing major is really going to pop off until we get those laws locked in first. Everything Ripple's doing right now is basically setting the stage for when regulations finally hit, and I'm really hoping that happens before the midterms. Fingers crossed we get those regulations by the end of this year. We're sitting here waiting on all these bills coming out of Washington, but with this government shutdown, of course everything's getting pushed back even longer. Classic, right? But here's what absolutely blows my mind about XRP, and I can't be the only one who's noticed this. We've got to be holding the most incredible cryptocurrency that's ever been created, because literally every single time we're waiting for something to happen with XRP, it's delay after delay after delay. Think about it. First, it was that never-ending Ripple versus SEC case. Remember how long that dragged on? Everyone kept saying, oh, the case is going to end this week, then, no, definitely next month. All throughout 2022, 2023, and into 2024. It was like waiting for Christmas that never came. Now it's the ETFs. Everyone thought those would have been approved by now, but because we're XRP investors, of course those got delayed too. What else are we waiting on? Regulatory clarity so we can finally get that massive institutional adoption for the XRP ledger. But guess what? Government shutdown means clarity gets delayed as well. But here's the thing that really gets me. All of these delays actually benefit XRP the most. The clarity is going to supercharge utility and finally separate real-world use cases from all the speculation. Those ETFs, they're probably going to absolutely crush Bitcoin's performance, So of course they have to get delayed to give Bitcoin more time to run its course. And you know what? I don't even think Bitcoin has hit its top yet. But notice how it's always the stuff we're holding that gets delayed. That's not happening by accident, folks. This is all happening on purpose.
Now, this is something I find really exciting, and I think you will too. So, the National Cryptocurrency Association just dropped something that caught my attention. Their VP of Communications, On-Chain Alley, recently sat down with Confidentially Crypto to talk about something that's huge for all of us regular folks. She's diving into how blockchain technology is literally opening up brand new opportunities for millions of everyday Americans. And I'm talking about real, tangible opportunities that didn't exist before. What I love about this clip is that Ali breaks down exactly how crypto is cutting out all those annoying middlemen that have been controlling our financial lives for way too long. Instead, we're getting direct access to opportunities that used to be reserved for the wealthy elite. This is the kind of stuff that gets me fired up because it's not just theory anymore. This is actually happening right now for regular people like you and me. Let me play this clip so you can hear it straight from her.
At its core, crypto is a digital asset, a way to move and hold and store value. And it gives you more control by cutting out the middleman. And so it saves you time, it saves you money, and ultimately it is more secure because of what we call the blockchain, which, as you know, is basically like a public giant notebook that everyone can see, like we talked about. And so when you put it in these analogies of things we already understand that are already part of our lives, it starts to make a lot more sense.
You know what's really fascinating when we think about all these XRP delays? Let's connect the dots here. What's the number one thing that XRP does? What's Ripple's entire mission? They're cutting out all the middlemen. And guess who's most likely behind a lot of these delays? Yep, those exact same middlemen. Think about it for a second. The banks have every reason to slow this down. Remember back in 2019 and 2020, right before that SEC case hit? Ripple and XRP had incredible momentum building up. They were on fire. Then boom, the case dropped and everything got slowed down. But you know what Ripple did? They said, fine, we'll take our business elsewhere, and they expanded like crazy all around the rest of the world. Here's the thing about these middlemen. They want to delay Ripple and XRP as long as possible because they're still making bank off the current broken system. Right now, they're getting rich off super slow transactions that cost us a fortune. It's the perfect setup for them. But crypto is about to put a lot of these middlemen out of business, and honestly, good. Because you know who wins when that happens? You and me. The everyday working people. All those ridiculous fees we're paying today are going to disappear in the future. This is what makes crypto so beautiful, and it's what makes Ripple, XRP, XLM, XDC, and all these utility-driven cryptocurrencies so powerful. They're the ones that are going to make this financial revolution actually happen. So until that day comes, let's stay patient, stay positive, and get rich together. All right, future millionaires, that's a wrap on this video. Thank you so much for watching. I truly appreciate each and every one of you. I'll catch you in the next one, and until then, have an amazing night.